Releasing in cinemas this month is a documentary called Edge of Life. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the director of Edge of Life, Lynette Wallworth. Lynette, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Thank you, Peter. Good to be here.
Good to talk to you. And I noticed this film has somewhat similar themes to a previous film that you made called Tender, looking at
Mm.
issues, I suppose, of death and dying and aspects of that. What was the journey for you to make this film, Edge of Life?
Yeah, so I do feel very sort of passionately about how we are managing end of life. Um, and I read about the trial that the two doctors I follow, the psychiatrist and psychologist, Dr. Marg Ross and Justin Dwyer, were doing at St. Vincent's, Melbourne, with 35 patients who were having psychedelic therapy with psilocybin to try and ease their anxiety at the at the at the awareness that they had been giving a diagnosis of uh, an incurable illness. And for me, because I have such an interest in how we managing to be supportive of one another as we die, I thought this is a perfect ground for me to then look at the way we do this, the way other cultures might do this, and the way these kinds of medicines have been used in a helpful way in different cultures, perhaps to give people an ease with which to face their end of life.
Okay, really interesting. And in particular, Justin's journey of self-discovery as well as helping others, etc., I found so interesting. And he obviously gave you full access to film his process.
Yeah, I mean, I think Justin started, as you see in the film, as someone who was giving these experiences to his patients, but had not had such an experience himself. And so he's really operating from a place of listening to people, having profound transformative experiences that for some of them really shifted their relationship to how they anticipated their own death. And he was open-minded enough and of course, he's a very intelligent man. So he also, I think, knew there's something I'm missing here. So I need to have my own experience and see what it is that my patients are trying to communicate with me.
Yes, yeah, really, really interesting. And his journey to Brazil in particular, I found so interesting, looking at the different cultural aspects of end of life and so on, which of course you filmed.
Yeah, I think what both Justin and Marg realized is that um, these medicines, and let's say we know they've been used for a very long time in different indigenous cultures, so their understanding of the way to use them is very informed. And what Justin and Marg came back with, I think, was seeing this process of removing someone like Roz. Let's talk about a 60-something-year-old Christian woman who has an experience that completely transforms her sense, not just of her death, but of her reality. And then she's got to slot back into a family and friends who have not had a similar experience. So what I think what Justin and Mark realized was that there's got to be a way we can help people bring their community with them so that actually there's a sense of being held by your loved ones as you moved through this. And I know that that's really one of the things they're thinking about onward for their practice.
Yeah. Oh, really fascinating, though, especially the way they both of them sort of respond and react and move forward. Um, I'm interested in the whole notion of magic mushrooms, if you like to call it that. Um, and I've seen a few documentaries from the US about how beneficial magic mushrooms are. Is that something you wanted to explore further in this documentary?
No, my focus is really the end of life aspect of all of this. So if there was a and there are other trials, Peter, where people are using psilocybin for all sorts of things, for treatment resistant depression, for anxiety, for a whole lot of other things. Honestly, the psychedelics was not my at the forefront. What was at the forefront for me is there are people dying in our culture all the time, and they're afraid. We think that this fear of death is a universal. It's not a universal. Sadness at death is probably universal, but to be anticipate death with fear is something that I think is very much part of Western culture. And I wanted to look at why. What is the why? How might that shift? And therefore, how might there be a way of talking about approaching death where people are not isolated and scared?
Fair enough. No, that thanks for that. That's a good explanation. And I noticed that there's some reference to indigenous culture and their approach to death and dying and so on, which again is quite different.
I think it's interesting. There's a kind of combination of knowledge systems happening here. So you see Chris Kerr from the Buffalo Palliative Care in New York, whose whole research area is the dreams people have as they are approaching death. And he talks about this sort of apparition of loved ones who've already died appearing to you. And that is one of the ways that the nurses that he worked with at his palliative care hospice would know that someone was getting close to the end of their life. Now, when Justin travels all of the way into the Brazilian Amazon and asks Muka this same question, what do you tell people when they're about to die? Like, because we don't really know what to say. He says, tell them they will have visions and they will see their loved ones who've already died coming to get them ready. So there is an Indigenous perspective, but there's a crossover to Western culture. It's just that it's almost been cordoned off, I would say. In my own family, and possibly yours, possibly in people listening to this, anecdotally, my great grandmother died just after she saw her beloved husband appearing in the room to her. He had died years and years before. And he said, oh, and she said, here he is. And then she died. Now, we thought that was a one off in our family. The fact is, it isn't. Why that kind of knowledge of what death might bring, which is a comfort, let's face it, is not held within our culture, is one of the things that I wanted to look at in this film, or point to, I would say, in this film.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you've done a great job in traversing that sort of area. Uh, the visual styling of the film is excellent. The animations and visual imagery and so on that you used, that must have been a bit of a challenge to try and incorporate all of that into your film.
Well, I have made several virtual reality works, and so I'm used to filming volumetrically, which is so to film in 360 and then to be able to take all of that data, let's say. If you see Muka standing at the tree, what the camera's doing there. It's not just focused on the plane of the tree. The camera will go all the way around the tree, and then we can take all of that data and basically decimate it into points of light. So what you're looking at is absolutely real, but it feels ethereal and porous, and that's what I wanted. And because I'd taken a portable LiDAR into the Amazon before, I was familiar with this technique, and I thought this is a way of showing exactly what I think these kinds of experiences give you, which is it's reality, but it feels different.
Uh-huh, I understand. Yes, okay, very interesting to hear that. And I mean, the cinematography by Bentley Dean is superb. I've spoken to him previously about other films. So, technically, the film is excellent. It really involves the audience, the viewer.
Thank you. Yes, I think about audience a lot. So I'm constantly thinking about audiences, especially in the edit. And so, and of course, we're talking about things as you see the doctors struggling to put words to. So it's very difficult to put language to things. Often people, and when they are putting language to something, someone like Bill Richards, the concepts are very big. So I had to find visual language that would go with what was happening. So when Bill Richards is speaking in these very big concepts, I wanted you to have something extraordinarily beautiful to look at, but which would allow you to take in his words. So these were all very particular decisions about what would assist the audience to take in what was being said, especially if watching someone have a psilocybin experience, you're looking at someone on a bed and all that's happening for them is in their mind. So, how do I show that? I have to suggest an expansiveness that would allow you to sort of feel I'm somehow getting a sense of what's going on for them. And I've been very dissatisfied at looking at a lot of the way psychedelics is visually represented. So, my challenge was to try and find a way that I thought would be satisfying and, yeah, aesthetically beautiful for an audience whilst hearing what people were saying.
Yes. Okay. Well, well done on that because that works really well. And I must also add the music by Anthony Partos is just a superb additional element to your film.
Isn't it? Yes, he did such a great job, Anthony. He loved this project. He said he was born for this project, and I think he's right. He just had an incredible instinctive feel for it. Everyone did. Bentley, who you mentioned, so very comfortable filming in conditions in the Amazon that a lot of people would probably find difficult, and he just adored it. I mean, there was the perfect team, I would say, to create this work. Sohan Ariel Hayes is an animator I've worked with previously who's in Perth, who did a lot of the animations that work with other live footage and then animates it. There was just person after person who came on board, I would say. There was incredible devotion to the to the subject matter.
Excellent stuff. And you mentioned the editing process. Tell me about that because that's always a more difficult process in any documentary about what you leave
I
in, what you leave
know.
out. Yeah.
You're right. Like, because you have so much footage, right?
Mm.
And there were so many things that I absolutely thought would go in there that don't end up in there. And it's that incredible process of letting things go. That Karen Johnson, I had not worked with her before. She was just astounding. She just followed her nose. I mean, she understood the intention of the work, and so that was so helpful to kind of get rid of the things that I might have loved to have had there, but really did not have a space. It was a very difficult work to edit because, as you can see, you're bundling a lot of stories together. Justin and Margs, Roz and Flavia and Muka and Chris. I mean, it's a lot, it's a combination of different stories to thread together, the Indigenous and the Western view, all of it, and these different visual styles that you mentioned. But it was a completely pleasurable experience. I mean, and I think that's what happens when you get the right editor. Right? They just understand and they delight in that process of refining and refining. Um, and I'm thrilled. I could not have done it without her.
Oh, excellent to hear all that. Yes, it worked out really well. So tell me, how did Justin, Marg, and everyone else in the documentary who've seen it, how did they respond to the film?
I mean, it's it's still very emotional for Justin and Mark, even myself to see. We traveled alongside of Ross for a long time,
Mm.
and even Flavia, who we filmed for a much shorter time. But you, it's emotional, Peter, because those people, knowing they had a short time to live, made a decision to put themselves inside this film.
Yeah.
And you can see with Roz, she just offered, she would ring Bentley up and say, this thing's happening today. You need to come and film it. I mean, it was so you can't, having known her, you can't, it's hard to watch it and not feel that incredible. gift that she offered in order to try and help onward people understand this way of navigating end of life. So for all of us, Justin and Marg, Chris, Anna, Roz's daughter, was with us last night at the Q&A. And so she spoke afterwards about even on her deathbed, Roz being in this state of peace. Um, so yeah, there's certain moments that still always bring me to tears and probably will. Same for Justin, I know, same for Marg, but it's because of the closeness of those incredible women and and the gratitude, I guess, that they decided to do this with their remaining days.
Really interesting to hear that. The film is an emotional journey in that respect, and it's always interesting how audiences respond, as well as the subject of the documentary, as well as yourself as the filmmaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two moments in the film I still have to close my eyes. And in every screening, I close my eyes, and I know what those moments are because if I don't, my emotions would come, be very close to the surface, and often I have to get ready afterwards to talk, and I don't want to break down in my own screening. But yeah, this is not pretend emotions, and these were not superficial relationships. These were real relationships with with real people with a purpose, with all of us with the same purpose. And yeah, you feel it every time you watch. But it's gratifying now that it can be out and in front of audiences because of course that was the goal. That was the goal. And hopefully, and the thing I've been surprised at and but that's been wonderful is that some screenings, someone will come up and they've had probably a difficult death, but that death might have been 30 years ago. And there's something in this film that seems to provide some sort of solace because it's offering another perspective maybe of what that person who died might have been experiencing. And so I think that is something I didn't anticipate, that this could be a helpful film for those whose grief might be decades old, but is still somehow a wound. Um, and so that's one of the happinesses of showing it now, that it's doing some work in that way.
Yes, no, I can see that function and how it will impact on people in different ways. So, Lynette, the film is now releasing in cinemas. How else will the film roll out?
Then it's going to go to Fan Force, which I'm really happy about because I think there's a lot of so communities can decide they want to see it, and Fan Force will support how you could get it into your cinema. I haven't been through that process before, but I love it
Mm,
because it's kind of community generated screenings, which is perfect for this film, really.
mm.
Um, and so I'm excited to sort of see how that will go. And after that, it will go onto a streaming platform. So I think it'll have a long life. It's a kind of subject matter, though a difficult subject matter, and one that, it's hard to get people to watch. With this film, it seems to be hopefully just in the right vein where people come away from it wanting everyone they know to see it. And so that's been a wonderful outcome. And I think that I'm hoping that will mean it will have a long life.
I think it will. So, yeah, well done on that. And just to conclude, Lynette, I just want to ask you, are you planning another film at the moment?
No, I'm not planning another one, although I have some thoughts about what that might be. As with documentary, gosh, it's a lot. It takes a lot. It's really a marathon. And we're at the last part of the marathon, which is this distribution moment. And once that's done, I think my mind will be able to turn to other things. But it's been an incredibly enjoyable experience with extraordinary people. And I think for all of us, the happiness is now that we can share it and that it can go out there. And, even Muka came to Adelaide for the Adelaide Film Festival and sat in an audience. Now, this is a man who's probably been in a cinema maybe 6 times in his entire life. And one of those times is he's on the screen himself. But he loved seeing it. He loved the experience of being with others as they watched it. And I'm so excited that we'll get to share it, I think, in Brazil and other places um, where people will get the benefit of this universal story, really.
It certainly is. Look, congratulations on the film. We've been speaking to Lynette Wallworth, the director of Edge of Life, now in cinemas. And Lynette, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you, Peter. Lovely to talk with you.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.